hard cutoff.
Slightly got real quiet.
I know. I didn't get it all the way there.
That's all right.
McCafe.
Ooh.
Not good. so,
Real quick, fuck that lady that was in front of us.
yeah, all I wanted was a little bit of an obesity breakfast. And
So did she, apparently.
this lady ordered a fortress of food. I don't even know what she had. They gave her the caramel macchiato thing and gave up on her and told her to go around the side of the building. So we're back. We're back. This is, one of my favorite panels I think that we'll do going forward forever is the anime manga. Just because for me, everything is, untouched, still brand
Right.
new. And
Fucking lucky.
Yeah, right. I think I could probably do that forever, though. I guess if you search out stuff to watch or read, it's always new. But before we go too far, let's go ahead. We're going to thank the sponsors, not McCafe or McDonald's, but Pixel Popcorn Media Group, Unscripted Studios, and James Thomas Productions. Thank you very much for your support, your continued support. And so here we go. This week we are talking about, is it volume 64 of One Piece?
Yes, it is.
So we're still in a place that a lot of people is not their favorite story arc.
Oh, I mean, I feel like a lot of people just didn't really care for it as much because the primary focus is really just to be like, look how strong the Straw Hats are now.
Yeah, but I mean, that happens in a transitional way almost in every arc.
I was going to say, but that's also every anime too.
Yeah,
like,
so
they always have their upgraded forms and
they're
all that shit.
leveling up and all that.
It's a shonen. Like, that's what they are.
The Fishman Island part, though, for me, and maybe it's just because I'm only reading it still.
Right.
I will not. I've decided that if I get 75% done with the reading, then I'll start to watch it because I should kind of connect almost at the same time.
In theory, with the way you watch things, I would say, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in Fishman Island, but reading it, I actually don't mind it. I really enjoy it.
Well, and I feel like it's hard to say just because I feel like the pacing for one, reading it's always going to be easier because that's direct. There's not extra padded time or filler as far as that goes. But like, I feel like it was harder for a lot of people when they read it week to week versus you can just read it all in one if you wanted to.
Yeah, I guess I can suppose I see how, but I still would have been enjoying this story week to week.
Sure.
It just would have been way more frustrating to not be able to read as much as I want.
Right. Well, that's welcome to my world.
Yeah, get to the end of the arc and then pause.
Right.
If I wanted to, like I had to with Skypiea because it just was, not my favorite. But we're in Fishman Island, and in volume 63, you still don't know who killed Otahime.
Right. Look at you knowing all the names.
Right. I'm starting
so
to remember things. It's getting, in my old age, I can still remember stuff. And I think that's, if you start to get really interested in something and you're passionate about it,
you'll learn.
It comes a little bit more naturally to just remember names,
yes.
even if they're not huge characters. Because Otahime, after this, I assume that's it. Like when you move to the next arcs, I don't see where else she would come into the fold unless the Reverie thing happens.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
But yeah, so before we didn't know who murdered her.
Right.
You just had speculation of who may have done it. And then in volume 64, we're further into the dialogue. Things are coming to a head. Luffy and Jinbei are basically fighting with each other about him going to fight Hody Jones, who is this crazy maniacal fishman.
He's like, if memory serves, wasn't he part of Arlong's crew originally?
Yeah, so Arlong was like the inspiration for him, and he thought Arlong didn't follow through on what he said he was going to do.
Well, got his ass whooped.
Yeah, and so he's like, I'm going to carry the torch, and I will fulfill this, legacy.
Dream or whatever.
Basically, he wants the Fishman to take over the world.
Right.
He wants to go to the surface. He wants to take every single human and bring them down to the Fishman Island and make them their slaves.
Right. To basically be like, this is what you did to us. We're going to do it to you.
Right. And
it's a better version of what Turtles failed to do.
The movie?
Yeah.
Which part?
Well, because
Turtles failed at everything for me.
That's fair. Well, just the sense of it's like, we've been outcasted our entire lives. We're going to make them the outcasts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess that was such a weird, that storyline in the Turtles thing was so weird for me that, whatever.
Movie sucked. Either way.
Yeah.
One Piece. Yeah. Much better fiction.
Definitely much better. And so.
Peak, if you would say.
Yeah, I mean, given the length of it and the fact that it is very like
as popular as it is.
It's popular, but it's also there's not a lot of holes that you could punch in it or poke in it as far as like, oh, that was weak. Like even Skypiea that I didn't love was still incredibly well written.
Yeah.
The art was still great.
What's funny about that too is like I feel like if anybody tried to poke a hole in something, it would be like, well, you're poking a hole in something that hasn't been revealed yet. So you can't really you can't legitimately be like, well, that doesn't make sense.
And even if you did see I think that's part of the brilliance of this series too, is because Oda is just a fucking mastermind.
Well, yeah.
So if somebody isolates something, you know, he's already got an answer. He always has an answer.
Well, yes.
And it always makes sense. And then you're like,
even if it's bullshit, it's like, all right.
It still makes sense. You're like, oh, damn. You explained that well enough that I accept that.
And I would say that is a testament to his world building. The fact that you could ask a question, he could give you a complete asinine answer, and you'd go, nah, I mean, that makes sense, though.
Yeah, I mean that's how it is for me, that series. And then so he's a mastermind, and it's very hard to poke a hole in it. And when people do, he's always like in his question corner, because he's been answering the postcards. If I remember correctly, 2 or 3 volumes ago, he said he still physically touches every postcard himself.
That doesn't surprise me.
He doesn't. He doesn't. I forget how he phrased it, but they all come through him.
Right.
And you have to imagine that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of these goddamn things coming in.
I can't even. I would every
month.
I would assume like 1 million at least. Like, every month.
Yeah, every month. Yeah, every month.
I would think like at least 1,500, 2,000.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Like,
you know, and it's probably a huge task. I don't imagine that he like reads all of them. He probably has somebody qualify them all.
Sure. Well, I don't know how many languages he speaks either.
True, because they come from all over the world.
Right.
So there's definitely interpretation involved in, and he embraces people too, because I've seen people answer from Norway, from Japan, China, everywhere in the
Brazil,
whole world.
Like,
he gives everybody a voice, which is cool because that's kind of the representation of the crew. They're worldwide. Right. Worldwide. That's a tongue twister. Worldwide.
Prestige. Worldwide. Why?
Dude, that movie's funny. So anyways, we're at Fishman Island, and
Hody Jones reveals that he is the one that kills Otahime.
Okay, so first you got Jinbei and Luffy fighting about him going to fight Hody Jones, and Jinbei's like, don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. And of course, that's exactly what Luffy will do if you tell him not to do something.
You could make a plan, and Luffy goes, I'm good.
Yeah. He's like, cool, I'll meet you over there after I'm there first, beating everybody up. And so, but the interesting part is later on in the panels, they explain why Jinbei was saying, don't go fight him alone.
Right.
He's like, don't go fight him alone as an angry human.
Right.
Go fight him alone as the hero of Fishman Island.
Right. Well, because, I mean, Jinbei understands that, like, the whole premise is basically, look, we're at war with humans because they don't accept us, we don't accept them. If Luffy goes in as an angry human, he's really not doing anything better. He's really just perpetuating an already shitty situation.
And so, so that is kind of what they reveal to you, but then they cut the panels that way on purpose so that you as the reader, me as the reader, you as the watcher reader, didn't know the plan.
Right.
So that
storytelling 101.
Yeah, so that when it happens and you're like, where the fuck is Luffy? And he basically comes tumbling out of Megalo's mouth. And you're like, of course that's where he is.
Because it's the dumbest possible outcome. You're like, what's the, like, anytime he makes a plan, you're like, okay, what's the dumbest thing that could happen?
Yeah.
And then multiply it by 10, and you might be close.
And so, so at that point, then Hody Jones does reveal.
Right.
He reveals that he is the assassinator. Is that the word? Assassin.
There you go. It took me a second. I was like,
assassinator.
Is it? I mean, it's not technically wrong, I don't think.
It feels like it could be an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie about him chasing dudes.
But like dressed up as a ninja. Come on, I'm the assassinator.
And then butt fucking him.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the assassinator.
Oh, Jesus.
So
every grunt.
Oh yeah, like Total Recall. You see like the whole face coming apart and stuff.
The eyes.
That would happen. I imagine it's like riding a wild stallion. That's a big, large man. He was a barbarian.
Anyways,
right.
One
back
Piece.
to the One Piece. So, So he reveals that he is the assassin, but then he actually makes it more insulting because he says Shirahoshi also knew this and has kept it a secret all these years.
Right.
Because in those final moments when Orihime is gasping her last breaths, she tells Shirahoshi, do not reveal who my murderer is, even if you find out who it is, because it will only make things worse.
Well, right, because then it becomes, again, it's more fish people violence.
Yeah. And so
fish
that all
on
goes
fish crime.
down.
Yeah.
And then Hody Jones has done a lot of work. So he has an army of 100,000.
Okay, I was like, I don't remember exactly what all he's done.
He really has banded together these quasi-skilled warriors.
Weren't they all? Well, no, that was to say they're not all members of the First Son of the Sea. They're just a lot of it's just like a ragtag group of fishermen that are angry.
Kind of like when the barbarian or when the angry group of people comes after Shrek in the first.
Oh
movie.
yeah.
That's how I feel. Like axes and pitchforks.
It was basically he gave them a reason to fight and be angry, and they went okay.
Yeah, and so he's got 100,000 of them.
It's a good amount.
It's a large number. And so after Luffy comes tumbling out of Megalo's mouth, Hody Jones makes just such a critical error.
Yeah.
You know. And we're going to go backwards because I skipped over. We have a graphic for the show just because this is, to me, the humor of One Piece in a nutshell.
Dude, I was sitting next to you while you were reading this, and you just started cracking up to the point, like, you put the manga down, and I was like, you good?
Oh, yeah.
You're just like, it's so stupid.
It's just, and it's Luffy in a nutshell.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, so he comes out, and there's the 100,000 people, and then Hody Jones basically says to him, I'm the only one suitable to be king of the pirates.
Right, and to which that's the quickest way to get folded so fast by Luffy, where he just goes, heard, and he just beats the shit out of you.
Yeah, so he literally has one goal. That's all he wants, you know? And so anybody who comes in conflict with that is going to get Luffy'd.
Yes.
And in fact, this is one of the first times I remember seeing him use the headbutt move, where he stretches his neck back and he flat headbutts.
Yeah, he doesn't do that a whole lot.
But he like headbutts these steel shell warriors in half, their shells.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, he broke steel with his head.
Also, too, he uses his Conqueror's Haki and just immediately knocks out half of the army.
Yeah, he takes out 50,000 people with his Conqueror's Haki, which is pretty dope. And then Sanji and Zoro start bullshitting over who's going to kill more people. And Sanji's like, oh, I don't really need you. I'll get 50,000.
They're basically Legolas and Gimli.
Yeah.
Like,
is that the
dwarf and elf?
Yes.
Yeah.
In,
Lord of the Rings.
There you go.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
We won't go down that rabbit hole. I would say some polarizing things for that series.
Would I.
We could talk about it sometime and really upset people, but
just in the sense of like that rivalry of like, I'm going to get more. I'm going to get more.
That always made me think of the game Golden Axe.
Well, yeah,
Did you ever play that one? The walk
Very
across,
briefly.
like 1980s game.
Yeah, that's how we were determining your D&D characters. You're like, well, I always picked the guy with the axe. Even if the wizard was better, I picked the guy with the axe because he looked cooler.
Yeah, I always wanted the guy with the big axe.
Yeah.
This is just my thing. But yeah, so he does the Conqueror's Haki, and then he levels Hody Jones.
Oh, immediately.
And Hody Jones is on all kinds of these like steroids.
Yeah, they're steroids
that make him like
potentially
insanely strong. Yeah,
PCP.
And he's on it. He's was that Rodney King? No, those riots. There was riots about this guy went off on PCP and like.
Was it in Florida?
No, it was in California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why I was like
coast to coast. It had to be one of them.
Well, yeah, both are crazy.
But
no, yeah, he's roided out as fuck, and doesn't he keep eating them? Like he's already basically told like you're at your limit. And he's like, I can keep going.
Yeah,
and he keeps going.
And so, so he beats the crap out of him, and it kind of, I feel like that's where it ended in that volume.
That sounds about. Well, doesn't Zoro fight him at one point too, and he also kicks the shit out of him?
Yeah, so like that's how, because when Zoro sliced him up somewhere, but they don't. I went back through and I looked for it.
I don't think it's like
they just imply that he had, because he said the swordsman.
Right.
Basically, is what he says. He doesn't know who he is. He just knows he's of the crew.
Right.
But he got pieced up by him.
Yeah.
And they don't show it, which is kind of sad because
it's like
what
was it? Was it Mr. 5 or Mr. 8? Like way back in Baroque works of Alabasta.
Mr. 5 is the wax guy, right?
That's Mr. 3.
You're talking,
is it 5 might be the dog or the Christmas lady.
I don't know. Derek's going to correct us. He'll know.
Exactly. But either way, but like I think it's like Mr. 8 or something. Like he's basically defeated by Zoro off screen. Like you don't actually ever see who he is. And there's a...
Is that the guy with the big sword?
No, he hasn't really been drawn. Like there's an SBS where someone was like, what's he look like? And Oda just drew like the shittiest thing ever. And he's like, he looks like that.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
But
gotcha.
But yeah, same thing. It's just basically defeated off screen or off panel.
Yeah, so it's implied that it happened. But that fight happens, and then basically all the Straw Hats had a little role in it. Nami came in, and she stole back the treaty that was signed by the humans
dragons,
above. Yeah, for
or whatever.
Is it, what do they call it? The Reverie? The thing that where all the...
Yeah, the Reverie is basically like... I'm trying to think of... Imagine
World
like...
Council.
Yeah. I was going to say like a Geneva Convention.
Yeah. So so they stole back that paperwork that Hody Jones had taken that basically gave him the right to be entered into that.
Oh, we almost forgot the fact that Hody Jones was like, I got a Kraken.
Oh, yeah. So
busts it out.
Yeah, so the fact that, like, because we talked about that last time, how Luffy just flat
punches a Kraken.
He punches a Kraken and the Kraken gets knocked out and then wakes up and is like, I'm your pet.
Well, dude, if you got leveled that quickly, you'd be like, I serve you now.
Yeah, and so in that battle, the Kraken is actually very conflicted because Hody Jones has his brother captive.
Right.
His brother Kraken. And so he's like, well, I guess I'm going to have to do this. Like, just the fact we're thinking of a mythical beast like having these high-level thoughts about anything. But Luffy goes, I will protect him too. And then the Kraken is back to being his.
Yeah, he's like, his word.
Yeah, so that... anyhow, it ends with them having their way. The King Neptune.
Yep.
And then the brothers.
Wasn't really creative on that one.
Yeah, the brothers whose names I'm not...
I always forget. The princes.
Yeah, the princes. I just know the one sings everything in the last line. Like, he'll start talking and
I don't
sings
remember them
the
much.
last bit of stuff. But they're all kind of moving off in the direction of the kingdom, I think. And then that giant ship, Noah.
Yep. Starting to get pulled up.
Well, yeah. Well, so Vanderdecken fucking threw
such
it.
A psycho.
Yeah, he fucking throws this immovable ship at Shirahoshi because, of course, she still won't marry him. But there's a panel where she's like, I'll sacrifice my life for my people. And she's basically going to take the hit from the ship.
Fuck. Is that when the ship is in the air and he's like, why won't you marry me? And then again, she just pauses. You're just not my type. And he's just, what?
Yeah, so I think that's because that's kind of where it leaves off in this volume is the thing. Everybody's kind of fleeing. Shirahoshi's about to get hit with Noah's Ark. It's called Noah's Ark.
It's Noah, but Noah? It's Noah's Ark.
Yeah, so...
like, at least it's the One Piece version of it.
And that's kind of where this volume ended for me. I don't know how that goes in the anime. And so, I think next is the end of Fishman for me, and then I move into something else.
Volume 66 is the end of Fishman.
Okay, I'm close.
So, volume... And I don't even know if it's the entirety of volume 66. I would think maybe some of it.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I mean...
So... Anyhow, that's kind of this in a nutshell. That's where it is. That's where the series is at for me. And then this panel, it did absolutely make me fucking crack up. Excuse me. Which is what happens to me with this show or this manga, and that's why I love it so much. Is because things like this go down.
I'd say that was the thing that made me really enjoy it. Was like while watching it, it was a show for the first time in such a long time that made me legitimately laugh out loud.
Because it's funny.
It's hilarious. But there'd be times where I was like, I would have to pause it because I was laughing so fucking hard.
Yeah, I had to, like you said, I had to put it down because in this panel, you see Jinbei is trying to tell Luffy that he has the ability
to be a hero.
And the reason that Luffy doesn't want to be a hero is just fucking asinine.
It's Luffy.
Yes, he literally does not want to share any of the meat that he would get from winning a battle with anybody, and his logic is heroes share.
I'm a pirate,
and I don't want to share. And so Jinbei basically tells him, "I'll give you all the meat you could handle."
Yeah, he's like, it's an infinite amount.
Yes, because every time you see him eat, like after a battle like that, he is gorged. Like he looks like Balloon Luffy.
Well, like to circle back to basically like just how funny the show is. I think it's in Water 7. they're all Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro they're all asleep on the Mary, and they're not waking up. And so Usopp's like, I got an idea. And it's like, there's a beautiful woman cooking meat with katanas, or whatever, however he phrases it. And they all wake up. They're like, what's that now?
Right.
Like, something to interest all of them.
But it's true.
Well,
That's how simple these characters, like they're very deep
all morons.
characters, but the surface level is just,
They're idiots.
they're shallow as can be because they're so they're just boobs.
But like, that's pirates.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome. So
I was going to say though, speaking of One Piece though, I just noticed. So what day is today? The 24th.
yes,
Next week on the 31st, the live action comes out. I've been seeing a little bit more of it. I'm actually more excited. Like, I'm not expecting the world, but I'm gonna watch it all because I like One Piece.
well, for sure, and I will actually make an exception, and I will watch that because
Well, you've already read past that.
Yeah, it won't
I
touch
think it's gonna
anything.
basically end at like Arlong Park.
Yeah,
But
that sounds right.
no, but then I was looking too, just to like the other stuff coming to Netflix. A bunch of the movies. So like
Okay,
Film Gold. I think the Tales of Skypiea and Alabasta, like essentially like the recap movies.
Got it.
Where it's like, hey, like if you didn't want to watch 40 some odd episodes, here's it in an hour and a half. It's not all the information, but it gets enough of the point across.
I'd say those stories are okay. I think it would be okay if you missed some of that stuff.
Well,
you
yeah.
know?
To me, it's more in the line of like the website I was telling you about, One Piece, where it's like it kind of cuts out a lot of the unnecessary shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's all updated animation, so it's not like from late 90s to mid to early 2000s. Like I think they started doing them in like 2016, so it looks really good. I'm like, damn, I'm jealous, but I'm also not, because I enjoyed watching all of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what happens. I've waited 25 years to figure out this existed, so
Well, exactly.
I should get all of the bonuses
Well,
for my patience.
yeah.
I've been way more patient than you.
Have you now?
I have.
Really?
I think so.
Okay, just because you didn't know it existed.
Yep.
All right.
That was me being patient. My ignorance was the patience.
There you go.
Yep.
But yeah, no, like I said, I'm excited actually. It looks fun.
I mean, I think it'll be cool. I know that I've read a couple of gripes, and then you've mentioned a couple of gripes that people aren't exactly
Thrilled
over
about.
the moon with the stylistic choices of some of the character design.
Whatever.
But, you know, it's
It's live action. It's anime to live action. Let's be real.
right. So your expectations, you need to curb them a little bit,
Well, yeah.
and just hope that the characters deliver what they're supposed to in the character.
Well, exactly. And I mean, I was telling my friend Dusty the other day, I've actually got faith in it because I was reading that like Oda told Netflix, basically when they were making it, it was like, not really a fan of how this fight scene went down. Redo the whole thing.
Yeah.
He was like, it just doesn't feel accurate. And I'm like, I mean,
That's what I'm saying. He's still there.
well, yeah.
You know, he's got his hands on the reins, so I feel
I
like
feel well. That's the thing too. Like, while it might not be wildly successful compared to like the manga and anime, I still think it'll be successful because why would he let something like that go through if he wasn't proud of it?
yeah, I mean, this is truly his legacy.
Well, yeah,
You know, and so he's going to protect it. I if he wasn't involved, I think I would
that'd be much more terrifying.
far more skeptical.
Yes.
But the fact that he's there and he's controlling things, you know, his eye is what made this successful.
Right.
And so if that's what is guiding
Well,
this,
and that's how you know too that like if a change is going to happen, he's going to be the one to approve it. Versus like something like The Witcher, where they make a change, they don't have Andrzej Sapkowski to be there and be like, no. They just have to. Whoever produces it goes, sure, and then they can change a lot.
I assume that you just told me the author of Witcher's name.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I picked up on it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so next week, this fucking thing, volume 65. I'm gonna try to plug through Fishman, so that we can start talking about the next arc because I think you said that's a cool one. Right before Dressrosa, right?
It's Punk Hazard next, if I'm not mistaken. Sounds
Which
right.
is some more law. So
Punk Hazard's again watching it. It drags a little. I'm sure reading it will be way quicker and cooler. Punk Hazard's fucking funny though. Like there's so many dumb moments in it that you're just like, why?
That's One Piece.
Well, yeah.
So
and it's great.
But yeah, so that's what we'll be at next time, and we'll probably mix in an anime somewhere.
You can watch the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie now that you've finished season 1.
Oh, okay.
It's a prequel.
Yeah.
Which will then kind of help set you up for season 2.
And that is how many episodes now? 3?
I think it's 4. 4 or 5?
Okay.
Something like that. I rewatched the movie last night, though. After having watched some of season 2, even cooler.
Okay. Well, then I'll check that out, and we'll put that on the docket. But that's what we got for today. And like I said, McCafe, not good. Peace.
Bye.